1. There is a special power in the adhesion of friends since the views and thoughts pass from one to the other through the adhesion between them each is incorporated with the powers of the other and by that each one has the power of the whole society. Therefore, although each person is an individual, he has the power of the whole society. Again, there is a special power in the adhesion of friends since the views and thoughts pass from one to the other through the adhesion between them each is incorporated with the powers of the other and by that each one has the power of the whole society. Therefore, although each person is an individual, he has the power of the whole society. Good morning, well, Celie, it's great to be with you again. Indeed, there is a special power in the adhesion of friends that when we unite, we draw the power of the whole society, so that through love of friends, we can be part of a change throughout the whole world. I think we all experienced the love in the wonderful Congress that we just had. We therefore know that our love for one another can and will make a difference in the world. I was so lucky to be a part of the Byron Bay Mirror Congress in Australia for the age of 10. It was very, very special, and I'm so privileged to be in the 10 with such giants. I'm sure that people all across the world clear would be thinking exactly the same thing. I definitely felt the love during the Congress. I feel like our whole tea and the whole society has changed for the better. Now we can continue to build on that unity that we felt, so let's build on the connection that we reached with the workshop. And here is the active workshop question: what can we add to the power of connection we reached in the Congress? Again, what can we add to the power of connection that we reached in the Congress? Hi friends, can you hear me? What can we add? You know, I will listen to the first and second lesson, I think, and a little bit of the music. Just, you know, I had a convention today. I made my own convention, and really I missed on a lot of stuff, and it really deepens my understanding. And you know, I feel like what we can add is what we're already doing. We just keep doing what we do, you know, because it seems like we're doing the right thing. And just hi, Karen, and we just have to keep doing it. Not to forget to not to stop all of a sudden or. And really I love how R said that we need to, you know, in order to cross the line there. Border, you know, all those forces that in the border in this world and the other world, we really need to know how to, we need to know how to use our forces if we understand, you know, what's going on. So we need to really learn how to use that, and I guess invert every bad thing to a good thing, and we just keep going towards the creator. In short, we have to keep going towards the creator, you know, and then just keep borrowing our way to his higher and higher towards him with gathering together and you know, all the with a connection. Just keep connecting. Oh yeah, it was my first instinct was say, just don't let go, but listening to the morning lesson towards the end of it, when I was you know, editing, this guy was saying to Rav, I feel like I'm still in a Congress. I feel like every lesson is a Congress, and yeah, I could get into that, and there was a whole lot of praise from the men, feeling that we are really supporting them. So yeah, let's not let go of that. Next, oh, also to add to that is Rob, his encouraging words of how we made him feel. I'm never gonna forget that. I think that back Congress and followed by the conference, I think that's what did it. It's as if we were still on a high from New York, you know, and then we went into the Israeli conference, and it just continues because we keep watching the lessons again. So it's just continuing on the level of joy that we feel. I mean, I woke up 2:00 this morning, and the girls were messaging from the Carbo conference. I even accidentally I went on one, and I didn't see her phone number or anything, but my finger touched something. I ended up video calling her, and I did not even have her number on her profile, you know, had to tell her it was an error, you know, and then we got to see it just continues. They're back. Tsp. GL. Good morning, friends, to their worldwide Ben Abal. What a Congress we just had. The friends showing more desire for the goal than seemingly ever before. Especially the women who revealed themselves to be a great force within the Bani Barrow CLE with their questions penetrating into the articles, recovering gems that previously laid buried within these texts, but now revealed to all in the light. Critically, we came to understand that even the C friends were playing a deciding role in the success of this Congress. What was brought home to me, and I'm sure to you is more than ever, that success is due to our connection between us. The following article explains this even more clearly, that the connection between us correct the Sharina, our mutual desire being moved ever more closely toward equivalence of form within with the Create, thereby bringing revelation of the Creator between us, including in our works and in our deeds. Time friends, you are the greatest of the generation, and please enjoy this reading excerpt number 2 from one who truly wants to serve the Creator must include himself with all creations, connect himself with all the souls, include himself with them, and they with him. That is, you should leave for yourself only what is needed for connecting the divinity. This requires closeness and many people, for the more people serve the Creator, the more the light of divinity appears to them. For this reason, one must include himself with all the people and with all creations, and raise everything to its root, to the correction of the again excerpt number 2 from one who truly wants to serve the Creator must include himself with all creations, connect himself with all the souls, include himself with them, and they with him. You should leave for yourself only what is needed for connecting the divinity, and this requires closeness and many people, for the more people serve the Creator, the more the light of the appears to them. For this reason, one must include himself with all the people and with all creations, and raise everything to their root, to the correction of their. I think this is exactly what we felt and saw during the Congress, and I had the privilege to spend the whole Congress together with the physical Asian Congress with the Asian friends, and I truly felt how these friends are behaving like organs of the same body, serving each other above any difficulties, without that stopping. They, with a smile on their face, they are existing for each other. I'm still trembling from the feelings I received, and what was very clear message, that it doesn't matter how the Creator is presenting the friends, where you can connect to them, you have to grab them, you have to hold on to them, never let go of them, because life is only through the friends, because the Creator is only in the friends, only through the friends. So for the remaining seconds before the lesson, let's enter the silent workshop. Let's enter the connection in one heart and feel the Creator there. Let's enter a connection in one heart and feel the Creator there. Shalom. Hello, today's lesson will be on the subject of continuing the Congress with an ascent. We'll read selected excerpts from the sources on the subject. You can find those on Kabbalah Media Info, as well as through the system, where you can send us questions live. Anyone asking a question here in the study hall is requested to stand up, hold the microphone close to his mouth, and to speak loudly and clearly. Not that every few tables here there's a microphone if you wish to ask a question after receiving permission to do so. Step right on and get a microphone, and there are ushers who will give you one. And yeah, let's begin with excerpt number 11, letter 38. The most important is the labor, meaning to crave, to labor in his work, for the ordinary work does not count at all, but only the bits that are more than usual, which is called labor. It is like a person who must eat a pound of bread to be full. All his eating does not merit the title a satisfying meal, but only the last bit from the pound. That bit, for all its smallness, is what defines the meal as satisfying. Similarly, out of every service the Creator draws out only the bits which are beyond the ordinary, and they will be the letters and the kim, vessels in which to receive the light of his face. Understand this well. This means that we should pay attention to the fact that it's not that we are doing everything that needs to be done. Write what needs to be done doesn't count as exertion or labor. Rather, what counts is only what we may be able to do above our powers when we add greater extra effort, and then what we do is counted as labor, and this labor is counted in the eyes of the Creator as efforts on our behalf. Exertion. Clear? No questions. Well, so this should be for us as something we necessarily must feel in every action we take in the direction of the Creator. That's how our exertion is. Wait, yes, who is that? Who is it over there? Regarding the efforts and how it's measured, how can we measure or examine what kind of effort we make, and to be certain that we are doing the right thing, making the correct efforts in order to advance and not just to show off to others. Norma, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry, say it again. Grar from Chile is asking. She says that according to her understanding from what you said, that it's not possible to measure the effort. Exactly, so how can we know that we're making the correct efforts and not exerting ourselves just to show off to others that we're making efforts? Here we're not talking about others, we're talking about the person himself, that he has to try to make an effort as much as he would do it for himself. And how much would he do it for the Creator? And then even more than that, add in an effort for the sake of the Creator as much as possible, and only that very last part of making a special effort for the Creator only, that is taken into account. Okay, there's a question there. Please. Yes, sir. Dear teacher, it's very important for me to watch all your old lessons that you gave. It's a treasure, but there's so much of it I don't know where to begin. That said, I set myself a goal to listen to 1 or 2 more lessons throughout the day in addition to the morning lesson of that day, to listen to some of the older lessons from the past. Is that correct to do, or is there another kind of study plan that is better? I don't think that's possible to invest so much time for studying. Besides studying, one has to also carry himself out in this world and take part in family and children education, and basically everything there is in life. The Creator didn't create all of that for no reason. He could have arranged things differently. So it is not recommended to study 3 lessons a day. It's not going to add much. You'll just kill yourself that way. Even reading 3 hours is not simple, and certainly not to really internalize in, meaning to feel that it sinks in and that you digest it and internalize it. That's not possible. It's not recommended. Is it correct to set myself a goal to throughout my lifetime to hear all your older lessons? Sure, that would be good, but it will enter you anyway. The same work that we engaging, for instance, let's say someone came to the Congress and these lessons were his first lessons, he will advance along with us, and yet in every lesson he receive something from the previous lessons, even if he doesn't study them. So let's agree that every day you'll study what we're studying, and if you have additional time, then you can read something here and there. But 3 lessons a day, that's really not simple, certainly for a woman, and even a married woman. I don't really see how that's possible. You don't need to do that. So what addition can be made to the inner work in the tent? The addition has to be that you examine yourself, how you relate to the friends, to getting closer with the friends. That's what's important. Thank you very much. Microphone. I've been wanting to ask about this for a while now. When you dedicate some time before going to sleep to reading the next day's article, of course you can't read all the study materials of the morning lesson. So it turns out that you really delve into every sentence, right? But you hang on some sentences. But on the other hand, you do want to get to read the whole thing. So what's better, to delve deeply into some few sentences, or one sentence, or to read as much as possible? It depends on your state. Sometimes reading one excerpt from the article will tell you more than reading many pages, so it's impossible to say here how much you need to Read, and in general it's always best to just read the article that we're going to study tomorrow, and in such a way, gradually you'll get used to digesting a lot of material. Usually we'd get from Rabash the article he wrote. He would use the typewriter and we would receive this article typically 2 days before our gathering, before our meeting, and in our meeting we read it. He used to be on Thursdays, and the day after Rash would already explain this article. He would elaborate on it, answer our questions, and that's how we should do this as well. Yeah, so we don't need to run forward more questions. How to know where the limit is in our exertion. There's always room to add more. It's always good to add, but you should determine clearly and specifically to what extent am I delving into the material and realizing it in the connection with the friends, and how much do I give of myself to the family, to work, meaning everything has to be organized, and that comes from being in our world. You have to determine all those things. Person has to feel that he is in concern for his family, and definitely not to separate oneself from creating the family, especially for men. This is a very obligatory condition, so much so that many Kabbalists didn't accept singles as their students, and after you would speak to a person and he really wanted to be a student, he would be told, go get married and then come study. The same thing happened with Bassam. Only a day after the wedding, a person could come and study. And in those days women were not even part of this conversation, but today we accept both men and women, and but take into account that these conditions to be married for a man, it is a must, and for a woman, it is recommended. Also, Ramesh was also quite strict with regards to singles. He would demand them to solve this quickly, within a month or 2, and there were such cases where a person would look for a woman to that will agree to get married with him, and other than that, with regards to making a living, Rabash would not accept students who don't have a job, who don't work, and all kinds of excuses that say, let's say they have enough money, they don't need to work. That was not acceptable as answer for him. The man has to be the head of the family and to work just like everyone, say 8 hours a day. That was a rule for him. More questions. I understand that today that these criteria are they're there, everyone knows. But still some friends remain for years without a partner or not paying the mass sale. It weakens the general, it weakens us, because such friends can studying, and we live in such times where the wisdom of Kabbalah already has to spread in the masses, in all of humanity. Therefore we are slightly more lenient with conditions, with the severe conditions that Kabbalists used to give their students, and we allow anyone who wants to come and study. But in principle you should understand that this is what a person is allowed to do from below, but from above he's given completely different conditions, exactly the way it used to be. That one has to have a family and take care of his wife and children and work, and not to live from some donations from his parents or something of that nature. Even many times you could hear people say, I don't need to, I have enough to live with, I don't need to work. That does not relieve a person from the commitment to work. Rabash himself would say, go work. No one tells you you have to make money. Okay, you have some money aside, let's say so, you don't need to make money, but you still need to work. It's not the same thing. Sometimes you relate to these issues as you do today, but in general, should the members of the tent keep reminding the other friends, look, you don't have a partner, you're not married, and so on. No, just I think that the friends need to help. They need to help find the right spouse, and if the friend resists what he doesn't want to get married, he wants to, but he can't find a match, so they'll convince him. And if some of his friends see the bride, and they approve it, let's say so, what does he need to look? Maybe sometimes in past you could see, and is issues after the wedding, but these days, it's a global trend. Most, at least half, the people are unmarried, or so maybe there are no options here. One who isn't married, well, he not advance, will not advance. We have to meet all the conditions of the spiritual society, and that is expressed in the form of family. Can it be said that getting married, going to work, meeting all the conditions, that all this attests to a special connection with the Creator, which is mandatory for spiritual attainment? Yes, that's very true. Excerpt 12, letter 18:1. Who assumes the complete burden of the kingdom of heaven finds no labour in the work of the Creator, and can therefore adhere to the Creator day and night, in light and in darkness. The gem in Hebrew both reign and corporeality, the G which is created in coming and going, changes and exchanges, will not stop him, since the K which is ins illuminates to all completely. Equally the fool who walks under a flood of preventions that pour on him from before and from behind says to all that he does not feel the sensation and the lack of adhesion as a corruption or iniquity on his part. Had he sensed it, he would certainly have strained to find some tactic to at least be saved from the cessation of adhesion, whether more or less. This tactic has never been denied to anyone who sought it, either as in the thought of faith, or as in confidence, or as in the pleas of his prayer, which are suitable for a person, specifically in the narrow and pressured places. For even a thief in hiding calls upon the Creator. For this reason it does not require to keep the branch from being cut off from its root. Short questions. K. Thank you. There are situations where one friend makes great efforts to come to the Congress, participate in duties, and suddenly he comes across a situation where he doesn't see this concern from another friend, and sometimes he sees from another friend completely the complete opposite. He does nothing, but he does nothing, and he can't justify that friend. So what to do in those situations? If he cannot justify the other, that is his problem. That's his problem. We nevertheless must accept every friend as ideal, who carries out everything and longs for the spiritual goal with all his strength. If we see him as somewhat different, worse than that, it already says that it's necessary for us to correct ourselves, to raise ourselves to a degree where we begin to see everyone as complete, righteous, and to that extent also see yourself with them. If I, as a friend, looking from the side, how can I help such a friend justify or rise, ascend? How can I justify myself? I don't know how I can justify myself in such a state. I can see some flaws in the others, but they indicate to me what I have to correct about myself. In such a case, I am grateful to the Creator and to the friend for being shown the flaws in me, and in general the world in front of me has to look to me as if it is completely corrected, so that the presence of the Creator is dressed in everyone, and everyone with no exception carries out the desires and conditions of the Creator. And if I don't see that, then actually I need to correct myself all the way to the degree where I see everyone as completely corrected. Talked about having a wife, children, family, work. He said that the conditions from above haven't changed, but us, because we want to spread to the masses, then we ease other conditions so that more people will join. So, but still, why is it so important? Maybe for new students, why is it so important to have a job and have a family? What is the spiritual principle here? It's precisely a spiritual principle that a person enters a burden, as we call it. The burden of a person enters the burden of family. He has to make sure to provide them with what they need for living, and he feels that, and he has to feel that as his obligation, and in doing that he corrects himself. Yes, still sorry for being insistent on this. Why do you need this burden? Why this burden? What does it do to the person? Because it's against our nature. A person doesn't want to be owing anything to anyone. It ties him and locks him, and he very much doesn't want that. state it burdens him what to do, build such conditions family work, studying so that everything will stabilize in his life in a way at it flows, and then he'll see how everything is precisely organized according to the conditions. It's really not good to shape life the way the person wants, and then later discover that it's not exactly what the Creator wanted. Thank you. For now, you said that we need to see all the friends in the ideal form, in their ideal form. Yes, in the beginning of the lesson you said that we need to incorporate and to exert as much as possible. A person needs to exert as much as possible. How can I see my friend who doesn't come to the morning lesson as though he is in his ideal state? No, if the friend doesn't come to the lessons that everyone is coming to, then he can't even be my friend. A friend means the one I want to connect with, and if that's how he behaves with regard to the lessons, I can't take him as a friend. I also want to ask about a marriage, for we have many single friends, and the single friends exert themselves sometimes more than the married friends. How to relate to that? Okay, so what? But still they have to be married, meaning if he is single today and he has more free time for, let's say, all kinds of tasks for the 10 for the group, that's what he ends up having because he's single. And if tomorrow he gets married and the day after he has kids, and then he needs to put some efforts into the home or work more at his work, then what can he do? This is how the world is built, and this is what it demands of him. So we don't need to pay attention exactly to how many hours one invests in the study or in the group, but if he has a family, then he has a debt towards his family. Yes, what can you do? This is mostly relevant to women. For men, this is relevant to men. Sorry, for women, this is more natural to feel that way. We had a couple of singles evenings planned out while back, but I'm not sure about the details, but I heard they both were cancelled because of, well, not enough people signed up. So okay, so I wanted to ask of you, I think that if you're a little bit more involved in the name singles now, right, it's intimidating to people there, shy and so on, but I think if you give a lecture there, we can really gather those people and add to the importance of it, because we have many single people in our society, and it does seem like there's no great importance to this subject. Now I have a question. If a person gets divorced, he has an even greater burden than a married person, and he needs to pay alimony and child support. It's a huge burden. Does he still have to get remarried? I can't give an answer to this. It depends on all kinds of circumstances, conditions that he has and she and the family that they have now, and why they got divorced. I can't say, so there's no one's clear answer to this. Another little question here and elsewhere, there are many instances of people living as a couple, but they have separate bank accounts. They're married though. Is that an issue? Or yeah, this is really something I've heard about more than once, that in family life they run a separate account for each one. I don't understand that. I didn't grow up that way. I wasn't born that into that. So I understood that everything that you make belongs to all of the family, and the husband and wife together make decisions on how to distribute the collective income. That's it. Or even to make it simpler, which is what I do, I just give everything to my wife, and she does whatever she thinks is right, and then my head is free. There is an issue here when the money, the assets are shared, right? Because most of the problems in relationships are around money and spend. So that gets rid of many problems, right? Because if it's all shared, then there's a thing there, right? Usually throughout life, the men Kabbalists especially would give what they benefit to the woman, and the woman would take care of everything, food and everything. A woman is called the home, and so that's customary for us that I give her all my income, and that's it, and I don't care about anything more than that unless she asks, and then I can get involved in doing something, but basically it all goes to the woman. Thank you. Just in a conclusion, if you could please give a lecture to the single friends to add the importance of it. Not just an answer to a question in the lesson, something like that. An actual lecture for me. A quarter of my 10 aunt married, and there are many people talking about how this is a new normal, right, being single, so raising the importance of being a couple on the path. That's thank you. According to Kabbalah, a person who's not married is called half a body, and therefore before he gets married he's not worthy of treatment from above, from the Creator. Baram would not accept any student if he wasn't married. Only after you're married, you have a family, then you can come and study, and that is according to the spiritual law, not what someone thinks is right somewhere. So take that into account. Explain that to everyone. Because we are an organization who's open to everyone. We don't make any limitations before anyone who comes, but in truth it doesn't give a person who is not married, it doesn't give him complete help from above, from the Creator, even if he studies and even if he's smart and successful, still the lack of family will stop his progress. That's what I can say. Okay, Gillette will continue. You want to ask, finalize this issue. It's very easy for people to get married, but just as easy for people it seems to get divorced. So what do Kabbalists say about that? That also, so I do not understand. I understand that our lives aren't so sweet, that there are problems that crop up throughout life, and that not everyone can go straight through it. They get stuck on such things where they wanted to flee to escape, but with respect to the correction of their soul, a person must continue and suffer and persevere and correct their state until he completes that correction. That's it, nothing more to add. Yes, I am engaged with a meeting between singles in our society, and of course I'm more in contact with the women about that, and you said that for women it's recommended but not mandatory, and many times I hear this excuse from friends that Rob said it's not mandatory for a woman to be married. And more than that, I hear it from young women. What would you tell them? The thing is that in our times, even though we don't relate to marriage in such a way where the man and the woman have to really want to be together, maybe the woman wants to make a family, but the man is disinterested. And still in our times, if a man wants to get married and raise a family, and the woman also expects that year for that, we need to rush them towards that decision, that they'll agree to raise a family as quickly as possible and in the easiest way possible. The Creator takes into account specifically the family cell where you have a wife, a husband, and children, and specifically to that cell he relates as he sees that as his creation, and from that situation, from that state, he acts to raise them up towards the next degree. What can I add on this? There's another question. There are women who think that if they have children it will push them away from the path, and that prevents marriage, because if the man could say I want kids if we get married, and the woman says it might push me away from being able to attend lessons and so forth. So what's the relationship to that? This is certainly in contrasts are opposed to the process that we need to go through by nature. We need to see how to connect together as a family. When the Creator thinks of the family, he thinks of a husband, wife, and children, and that's what the Creator relates to as the natural unit which he needs to develop. And therefore in every place we have a man, a woman, and children. It mustn't be less than that. All right, who's there in the back? If you get permission to speak, please stand up and get a microphone. Question from a friend. A couple, men and women, who live together in our society, but they're not officially married because it's not their first marriage. So does that matter? And if it does, then what's the significance of this? There's this a concept of unknown is a couple. They're known to people to be a couple, right? If it's like that in the society, so what? As in the past, families were created. Here's the husband, here's the wife. They begin to live together and they have children, then they count as a husband and wife. It all depends on the society, on the times, but as a matter of principle, our teachers, they saw a husband and wife as a couple who make a covenant between them, marriage, and they take upon themselves added responsibilities like that, and they become a unit within the society. That's what I can say. Good, rough in nature, everything is connected, every tree, every plant, everything connected. We as human are also connected. And is it so if you will choose to be alone, not in marriage or relation, you put yourself out of the system, the connection can. Yes, okay. Yes, what you more questions? Yes, just to understand something small. We know we work in the tent, so now we have to understand that every friend in the tent is not he himself, it's he, his wife and his family. That's an individual inside a tent, yeah. Yes, all right. Yes, I just want to ask about first, should the man pay from his own earnings or what the family collects as a income from the sum total of the family's earnings? So a woman should also agree on that. If she doesn't agree, what we can do, then we divide it and the man will pay only for himself, okay? And how important is to pay? Like, for example, can we make like a classification? First of all, men should go to the lesson, then second of importance is to be married or to pay. How important is on the scale? No, it's not all the same as important. Studying in the group in A1, attending the lessons and working and paying the tithe. That's how you can divide those things, yeah. 1, 2, 3, last thing. For example, it's very good to raise the importance of being on the morning lesson in the group in the 10. And how about paying for example, some friends can push on the raise the importance of the morning lesson every day, sending quotes, clips. And is it the same if I, for example, raise the importance of paying my every day? Difficult to say, it changes from time to time. From there are such periods in the development of human society where special attention should be paid to the group, to the study, and there are periods where more attention should be given to the connection of families and less to the group in the study, and so on. It changes because but regardless, the most important is studying in a group, working in and being connected to a 10, being married, and also try to have a job, work, and sustain your family, right? Yes, if I can ask 2 short questions. I heard once from you that a woman who maybe herself doesn't study, but she supports the studies of her husband, she receives from him all that he gains, he brings it to hers. That still does, that still stand. Yes, meaning if there is a wife, a woman, who's very concerned about not having enough time to be in the lessons because of family concern, but if they support their husband, everything comes to her. It's all her gain. Yes, second question, based on everything that was said, we received a comment from a friend who's with us for a long time, but he's single, and he says it's too painful for me to hear this, and I can't connect to the lesson. How to not look at this topic in a way that rejects friends. On the contrary, we want to help them get closer, help them become whole. So in short, how to not reject the thing is that a person doesn't feel that if he's not married, then only half his soul participates in his correction, as we say, plar half a body. What to do about that? Try attempt to convince him of course being single is convenient, easy, you're a master to yourself, but it's not a solution to the problem, because a man must be married, and only from that state can he begin to correct himself. No married people get that, but thing is, today the times are very difficult when men could be above 30, above 35 even, and not used to the burden of family. So very hard to change this habit, and I don't know why I too don't have a solution, so I'm asking her right now. We have a dear friend with us many Years on the path, and he wants it's not that he doesn't want to get married, he wants to, but it doesn't work for him. There are different problems, and it's not one friend, so how do we not reject them, but somehow help them? I don't know. Those are very serious and case-specific questions that need to be solved with the help of the 10 and try to solve those issues. I cannot say there's no perfect one-size-fits-all solution, and the group has to feel that it's the problem, not that it's one individual out of the group that's problematic. It's the problem of the entire group. We don't have such incentives that let's say there's a 10 only for those who are married and those who are not married, and then we could say you might be married or not, or pay my S or not, and we accept you. Maybe tomorrow he'll say I come to the lesson once a month and that would be fine, so that weakens the strength. I don't know how to relate to a friend who doesn't meet the conditions. How can I make decisions with him, be in workshops with him if he doesn't pairs and is not married? The others did put efforts into that, and he didn't go through some disaster that prevents him from doing these things as well. So how do I justify him? What do I do? We decide according to what we see. We see that he's not married. We see that he doesn't pay the tithe. We see, and whatever else you care to mention, we can see these things, so you don't need to philosophize, right? Just accept it as given and make a decision accordingly. If all those 3 conditions are not happening, it means it's not 100% a friend. Of course he's not 100%. Many times you can hear from singles that they want to hear to find love, to find a couple based on finding great love. What are the criterion for finding a partner? The criteria for finding a partner: to want it first and foremost, to understand that without that it's simply impossible. You must be the head of a family. You must have a family. There should be a feeling you're tasked with this mission. You must get married and have a family. How do I decide that this will be my spouse? That doesn't matter how it doesn't matter. Ask your friends if you yourself cannot determine. No, I'm married, so what are you trying to justify yourself? No, it's just that I see, that I hear from people saying I can't find someone because I have no love towards them. Great love, of things come to you need to think with your head. The tour doesn't speak of some great love, and love is something that's born within the family gradually throughout life. And what happens when some guy and girl meet? You can't make anything out of that. They just need to check how compatible they are. So that's it. I don't want any more of those questions. It all leads to kindergarten level discourse. What do we have next? What's with you? Are you married or not? Do Rob, I have a question about the excerpt. Besides prayer, what else can allow us to be in complete adhesion with a creator, both in a sense and the sense? Only the connection in the group, and about the confidence in the ascent. In the ascent I have confidence because of and this is the upper knowledge, and this is where gratitude is importance. Yes. And in the descents it's faith above reason. Only the prayer for correction. Yes. Excerpt number 13 from Rabash. One must engage in day and night, that the night and the day should be equal for him, as written in the Zohar. In other words, the state of completeness called day and the state of incompleteness called night should be equal. That is, if his aim is for the sake of the Creator, then he agrees that he wants to bring contentment to his Maker, and if the Creator wants him to remain in the state of incompleteness, he agrees to this as well. The consent is expressed by doing his work as if he were rewarded with wholeness. This is regarded as green when the day and the night are equal to him, but if there's a difference, to the extent of the difference there is separation, and on that separation there is a grip to the outer ones. Hence, if a person feels that to him there is a difference, he must pray to the Creator to help him, so there will not be a difference for him, and then he will be rewarded with completeness. Again 13. One must engage in day and night that the night and the day should be equal for him as written in the Z. In other words, the state of completeness called day and the state of incompleteness called night should be equal. That is, if his aim is for the sake of the Creator, then he agrees that he wants to bring contentment to his Maker, and if the Creator wants him to remain in the state of completeness, he agrees to this as well. The consent is expressed by doing his work as if he were rewarded with wholeness. This is regarded as agreeing when the day and the night are equal to him. But if there is a difference, to the extent of the difference there is separation, and on that separation there is a grip to the outer ones. Hence, if a person feels that to him there is a difference, he must pray to the Creator to help him so there will not be a difference for him, and then he will be rewarded with completeness. Meaning, this means that we first examine ourselves, how we feel in a state called day, in a state called in a day, state called night, and how different these states are, and in accordance with that we ask the Creator to make them equal for us. Yes, questions can, in that for a person they need to be important equally, each of these desires, because the conditions come from the Creator, and the person needs to relate equally to both states. Meaning, the importance of the Creator is what equalizes them, what connects them. Yes, no, okay. Well, we have the young students in Carbu 14. We have a question. The quote, this is regarded as agreeing when a day and a night are equal to him. It seems connecting from home is night, and being there physical is the day. Could be a sing is asking even from home. Excuse me, could be. What could be agreeing is asking even from home. Agree, can you repeat? Agree, you say age. Repeat please is a green. What is the question? Is the agreeing is that asking even from home, this not from the night but from the home. He's asking about studying from home and studying with the group physically. He's asking about the agreement, the wholeness. Can that be when you take both of those types of studies equally? Says he asks is by agree with his state. The state is that consider both states as being equal. Could be the he says there are friends who think that to study physically is the state of day and study from home is the state of night, and because it says here you have to relate to both states equally, is this a correct understanding that you should treat learning from home equally to studying physically? No, it is certainly not equal. You can't compare studying from the study home or the place of the study, or to study from home. No, I could feel this difference like like night and day. I felt it in the heart. I have a question about the exit, to the degree of the difference, to the extent of the difference there is separation, and on that separation there's a group to the OU ones. What are the outer ones? Those who don't feel clearly the difference between day and night. How does it influence me in my work? You're nevertheless connected to the whole world and even your group. Also, the group perceives differently day and night. Day is when the Creator illuminates at night, when the Creator is concealed is hiding, meaning my goal is to constantly increase this importance in order to equalize between the states. Yes, and that will influence the outer ones as well. Yes, I also would like to scrutinize this question. We have in Villas a small center, but because everyone is in different tents, they don't show up physically to the center. It's like it's written, it's probably inspired from that excerpt that we read, or whoever goes under a blood of preventions, and he says that he doesn't see any deficiency in lacking his adherence and all that. What an idiot is. In short, so simply search for a lack for adhesion. Look for where extra you can add and see that as it's written, as the Creator created to do. We have life here in this world, all that's arranged between us in a perfect way. We simply need to work with all the condition he has, and according to the root of one's soul and the general correction, etc. So what's most important is to first see that every friend see that he that each is ideal, and that he yearns for the spiritual goal with all one's mind and altogether to the whole world which is clothed in the presence of the Creator, and all the blemishes are in me, and if not I don't see that I need to correct myself, and from that started the whole importance of the elements of this world, that are laws from above, that is worthwhile for a person who wants to enter more and more into a teaching with the Creator to observe all those. It's a lesson for me. Was very good the scrutiny about the importance of being with the family and everything. It's really all against our nature. Nobody, once you know that the growing W2 receive especially, doesn't want to be in contact with someone, a woman or someone else in this life. You want to be free. And our path is about connecting us to nature, to responsibility for the family, for children, so on so forth. And through that, we're learning, we are making corrections also inside the family, and the children learn from that. They learn how to take the deficiency from there in order to ask for it in the lessons also together with the 10. It's not simple today, and I agree all kinds of challenges, but these are nature's laws. This is what the Creator demands of us. We should rise above reason, above the body. Every time there are problems, we should do it, and it's like exercises is giving us in front of our eyes in order to annul ourselves and everything. That's what I think powerful lesson to hear it again. Fern, what has been saying all those years about the importance of the family and getting married. The topic of the lesson is continuing the convention in an ascent. To continue in an ascent, Rob said, everything needs to be organized, also the matter of their family, also the matter of the burden of the different parts, because the condition that we're being given from below, because of the times and what we were given to study, and the point that was open for us. There are permanent conditions from above. Doesn't matter what generation you're born in, and because we have so many powerful friends, it's important that we were somewhat internalized. During the convention I sat with one of the so-called the single friends, those devout, and then someone best friend said, oh, I was recommended to go out with her, and the idea is not to go out with her, you have to get married with her. And so let's hope that really friends will simply decide internally, I'm getting married according to what the friends in the 10 choose for me, or whatever was decided, as long as I enter that framework, because Rob says that it will advance us. What can I add? We have to relate to all the questions, all the scrutinies is a concern of the friends for the friends in our state as society, and maybe one moment we can focus on the story of this agreement. If he's doing his work and he going to be merited to work in wholeness, and then if not, he has room for work. I think this is a place where we have a lot of work to do. Here also Danny, who's sick at home, is writing. We'll try to help one another see what the addition of the exertion we can do, mostly in prayer. Leo in translation is writing. We need to make sure the society will be happy and enriched with the laws of nature and of creation. With that, I felt like the lesson dispersed a little, even though they were strong forces. There's something in the lesson that is really not good to make his life in the way that a person wants, and then discover that it's not exactly the way the Creator wanted it. And we can see how, from these scrutinies and questions, we move from the laws of nature, what is dictated that they get tell us, and we have to take care of each other and make sure that we don't run away towards what is against the purpose of creation, and for us to help one another strengthen in what brings us to the goal. I think we've exhausted it. Nothing more to add. I don't really have much to add. Main that we will be in prayer, will be in prayer, continue their efforts. It felt like the friends are scrutinizing their routine after their Congress, going to be adhere to the work purely fully. If we're speaking about having his work whole, whether it's day or it's night, that the reaction to that is gratitude and prayer. You have strength to do something, you have to be grateful. If you don't have it, you have to ask for it. Ask for the strength to have that. You're doing everything possible. It's wholeness. Like after the Congress, after the post Congress lesson the where we pressed. This topic of gratitude, this is what we have to care about and remember how to apply it during the week. Now it's like a little addendums, friends are going home. It's always like that in congresses, but I myself was greatly impressed, and the feeling from the friends from all of the world that are here, how they ask those questions to Rav, how they care about every detail of our work. It's kind of like the importance of and family, and also it continues with the power of the convention, because friends made great effort to be here. You can see this. It's truly precious and very expensive for them to be with us. Have to learn a lot from the efforts they've made about the work that we're doing. You have to remember that's the work of the connection between us. If it's perfect at all, then afterwards comes an ascent. That's where they are explained the connection ascent, because the ascent comes if a person applies himself and incorporates himself with the friends in the tea. We need everyone in the purest place try to give all he has in the connection. He should help his friend, and as much as possible to strengthen and encourage and raise the spirit of the friends, because any moment you can do it, it's certain someone in 10 needs it, and the necessity for the spiritual oxygen to pass it from one to the other has to live among us. Let's hopefully we won't forget and continually add to it. Well, if we're digging into the beginning, there was also the whole matter of it not all just being that we do what is needed, that we should pay attention not just to do that, but that the exertion that we need to do is beyond that. So really it raises the prayer in that necessity is also something that itself is not what you see, especially in today's egos and all its extent and all the traumas that all kinds of friends are experiencing and all kinds of things from life. And in truth we need to help in every way that we can, strengthening all the tens so that they will make sure that also the friends will feel that they can sustain themselves on the path and continue also a little bit of our push to move forward and to range everything in their place and able to develop the best possible way they can. Congress is finished. We're going back to our day-to-day routine. We have to add in the work, arrange or necessity, but not identify with this world, constantly aspire to reach a state of devotion, absolute love beyond what's happening with me, what's happening with this, happening with that. Yes, we're going to move now. We're going to allow our friends, whoever wants. We saw a few hands in the air earlier to scrutinize the topic of that. We started that the lesson kind of went in its direction, how we balance between spiritual advancement and our corporeal life. That's more or less the topic where the lesson was flowing towards. Yes, how we balance our spiritual advancement and our corporeal lives. We assumed that there were more questions, and if there are interesting matters, let's participate in the questions and think together about the answers. So please, thank you. Yeah, I had that one. There's a situation in the tea where sometimes we seem to have a demand on friends before we commit to them, and we forget the difficulties and obstacles that are put in their path, and they are not responsible for we seem to forget the difficulties that puts on their path, and they are not responsible for example, his job schedule changes, his new baby in the family, painful loss in the family, or even the simple case where he start losing importance and he's falling off gradually. So the question is, how much effort do we have to put as a support for each other to protect the friend? Because like Crash says, a friend does not save himself from imprisonment. So if I don't fight for him, he's dead, isn't he? How do we resolve this? Yes, we heard the whole question. I can just bring a short quote now from Rob from the lesson. He said this way. He says, I can see some blemishes in others. This is the quote number 5 in a document. Apparently they have it. I can see in others these blemishes, but they show me what I myself need to be to correct. In such a state I am thankful to the Creator and to the friend for being shown my flaws. Again, I can see in others certain flaws, but they're pointing to what I need to correct in myself. In such a Case I'm grateful to the Creator and to the friend for disclosing to me my flaws. There are other friends from the veterans, from those who are I've been around for a while and want to share about what are asked. I don't know if I'm an expert, but you have to take into consideration the fact that friends in the 10 are different friends. They go through different states, they go through different situations in life. They may be different ages, each one is going through different processes. The 10 has to support, has to strengthen the friend giving forces. It's true that it's a very complex to balance between support and help the friend maintain all kinds of frameworks that we take upon ourselves is something we wish to adopt for ourselves. So, as a 10, not as individuals, as a 10, we have to find the balance between the things that our goal friends who chose a certain framework, we should help them maintain that framework. Together with that, life is made of all kinds of events and activities. Some are temporary, some are ongoing, so the T has to be sensitive on the one hand and on the other hand supportive, and should monitor the friend's state positively. You know, from the point of view of supporting him to help him, of course. It's not uniform, we're not going through the same states and we understand it. We're not little kids. So our path is ongoing path, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, so we have to help the friends, give them forces, push them. But not every friend likes the same attitude. Some friends like one type of attitude, others like different kinds of attitude. Have to take this into consideration when helping the friends. I don't know if it answers the question, but maybe it's in the right direction. Yes, maybe we can also add, just like if you gave the direction, it's really, we shouldn't forget that almost every question you ask RAV, he will tell you. Look, find it in the connection between you, meaning our tendency is to look for the connection. Even if we look and we find the differences. Today in the lesson, we talked about married, not married, pay, not pay. They have children, they don't have children. They want to connect into this relationship or that other relationship. All kinds of many differences, and if each shall discern it in his T, he'll see all kinds of variety of it. Also physically, also paying. Also in the lesson, those are married who do have children, who don't, those who have children but they already got divorced and didn't get married, and there's from all the VVAR varieties. Our purpose in the end is to unite between us to reveal the Creator. The Creator gave us the 10, he gave us the work field that we have, so our purpose is to support one another in order to connect, and when these differences between us are revealed, it's only so that above them we will want to connect more. The connection will solve all the problems, not that we will now lecture to the friend or do sanctions or all kinds of things of this world. That's not the direction. Our direction is to find and search for the connection, and to realize that from the connection you can raise a prayer, and whoever did the separation will also make the connection. More questions or things that came up that we didn't manage to scrutinize in our 10. We had a very interesting conversation also concerning what we spoke about so far, and we touched the point of when scrutinizing some matter, saying rough said and then continue like that's the ultimate decision, because everyone hears what he wants to hear, and then the argument starts. But he said this, he said that. Both things sometimes in the same lesson. Says both stuff, like for example, he can, if he's not on the lesson, he's not a friend, and then the friend says, how can I scrutinize anything with him if he's not on the lesson every day, not paying? My then Rar says, okay, most important is the connection in the 10, so I don't know how to formulate a question out of this, but how to find a good way to relate, how to speak in the 10 by using Rav's words, but to always have the balance between us, to keep the balance of life. Study even in a regular conversation between us when we are using the light of the lesson. I met the truth is I really want to answer, also want to answer, I want N to answer, give me an answer please. How do you keep this balance? You know, Rob said. Each can come and say Rob said and to bring his opinion on the topic. because that's what he heard. I think the direction in which we're moving is to support each friend. Each friend has his own challenges, different challenges. We need to see how do we ultimately not rebuke the friend and push him out, because you can take everything to such a form of connection and then seemingly it weakens everything, seemingly because there's no clear definitions and everything falls under the umbrella of connection, and we can contain everything and everything is legitimate, but we hear from our clear attitude to such things, and sometimes ultimately the challenge is how on the one hand to come and say what we heard today morning, lesson to be in a family, to work, he work in the tent, so on so forth, and on the other hand to understand that life deals out different situations, conditions to each friend, and our goal is it's to ultimately help all the friends advance and not produce TS. That where if he's not married then he's not in the 10, and produce tens of single people and tens of people who don't pay mass and all kinds of things. We see it's not the direction, and it's not ours direction, because if it were his directive we would be doing it. Rather we need to see that, and I also heard once that this is our challenge as a 10. In each 10 there are different states. Some friends lack the conditions to make it here every morning. Some friends lack the conditions to be married at this point in their lives. In short, different many conditions, and our challenge is for none of the friends to feel unwanted or to feel that he's pressured more than he would like to be pressured, because some friends want to be pressured. Some friends, if they feel pressure, they get repulsed by it. On the one hand, the key is very complex, but it's about working with love toward each friend in the end to see how, with my pressure, I'm not pushing the friend away, but on the contrary, I actually managed to not only keep him, but gradually, according to his desire, I managed to advance him to meet more of the conditions, but without that feeling repulsed, rejected, pushed away. Thank you very much, Asaf. Do you want to add Hone? Yes, microphone to Asaf, please. In short, they said so. What R says is holy, and each one of us hears it from his will to receive, so each one hears it with his own vessels through some form of corruption. So our entire work, as R said, as I heard R say, is to check myself how I relate to the friends and correct that, support them, love them, open their hearts for them, try to advance the tent to spirituality, and everything will work out. Anyone else wants to answer or to ask, please? That be very clear question about what I scrutinized already. To what extent should the group worry about a friend having a job so he's able to get married and prepare himself for a family life, because he simply doesn't want to exert labor, he doesn't want to support himself, also the family, and that's a great obstacle. I think that we see that things are clear. Yes, it's clear to everyone. I don't think there's some kind of doubts about what was customary with the Kabbalists with, and also from R. We heard many times these things when seemingly there's some kind of doubt whether we should or not, or could or not, and then there's another step, which is how the 10 should act towards these things when they're not being realized. So there's all kinds of questions about these things. I think about the matters. There's no doubt everyone knows what you need to do in order to advance the spirituality. Let's put that aside now. It doesn't work out for me. It does work out. It's hard for me. It's not suiting for me right now. It'll suit me in 2 weeks, in a year, and a month, and in 10 years. That's another story. What the 10 should do in relation to that, that's a good question, because reality today is a little different. Our 10s are diversified. They're international people, are living in different time zones, different places. Some of them don't even meet physically, and as was asked here, there are all kinds of challenges. How do I relate to friends if he does observe the conditions or not of these or those? In our work there's no answer if someone's expecting some kind of one answer, that this is the answer. The answer is 7, so no, there is no answer. I think that when the 10 invests efforts in connection and tries to support the friends and gifts together. With that the forces to advance on the way on the path gradually. Things come into play, and we see that there are things that are obstacles over time, and we saw this with all kinds of examples. I can say what I heard throughout the years, that first a person needs to give a personal example. Let's start with that before he organizes everyone else. He should be giving the right example himself, and gradually when a per the 10 gives examples it influences the friends. It strengthens the friends, and maybe we have to also help practically friends. But we have to do that in a very cautious, measured way, because not necessarily every person accepts help in the with joy or in the way that I think I need to maybe sees life differently, but in the end, gradually things work out. And most of the time the reforming light does the work. Let me add a quote from Rob SWS. Except number 2 from today, a person has to try and make an effort as much as he would do it for himself, and as much as he would do it for the sake of the Creator, and even more than that. He needs to add effort for the sake of the Creator as much as he can, and only this last portion, the special effort for the Creator. This is what counts. A person has to try and make efforts, as much effort as he would make for himself, as much as he would make it for the sake of the Creator, and even more than that, to add in the effort for the sake of the Creator as much as he can, and only this last portion where he makes an special effort for the sake of the Creator. This is what counts. So maybe we can add here again, as we heard, the conditions of have not changed. Kabbalists established these conditions in times of antiquity. Times change, the conditions don't, and this in Syrian, where a person makes a calculation, what is for himself, what is for the Creator, how much he can and is able to. This is a personal matter. You cannot interfere. This is a personal calculation of each friend with himself, between himself and the Creator, however you want to call these calculations. But the rules Kabbalists set cannot change, because there are laws of nature. They're immutable laws, so it's good. It's a path that constantly leaves the calculation to ourselves. How and in what way does a person make the calculation for himself? You want to, it's personal. But when you are in a 10 and you have all your personal issues, or you're meaning about your friends, about marrying and everything, is it cool to have and to talk about it in the 10 and make a sort of confident how we see us and the law of nature on this topic? How do we as a 10 see the law of nature? I think the 10 and altogether the group needs to be based on our sources. That's what we hear, the writings of Rash, writings of and as much as possible. And if we want to interpret the words of R, we should do it based on words we heard from R. How do we see the law of nature? It's a nice thing, but it's not a must to confuse one another. It's best to concentrate how we understand words of R and Rash that can help us all see things like they do, and not like we see, but how we would like to see, like R, like Rash. That seems to be more beneficial. Question from Nova. I'll try to sort of phrase it. It's a question that comes up often the moment a problem appears. There has to be a system outside of the T that handles this problem. For example, the issue of bachelor single people. There are experts who can help. There are also many programs that are made, like New Life and all that, where R talked about it. You can't always solve it all in the 10. What is that system that has to exist in the general group? He's asking when there's a problem. The 10 and the 10 doesn't know how to solve it. Other general systems maybe. We can share that there is a framework of our department heads in different languages. We are different teams, social teams in the different languages, and there certainly can be a state where 10 stumbles upon CH challenges or problems or cases where they don't know how to take care for. They try and they don't manage for that. The organization has all kinds of systems that are supportive. People with a lot of experience maybe want to share this. People with many years of experience. 10 teams, social teams, heads of departments, language departments, Bo and Russian, Gil and Spanish and English we have also, Teams Europe, etc., and anyone can turn to these experienced people who know the complex situation in every organization because it's not the same in every place. There's this reality and another, there's this economical situation and another. You turn to the department heads and they very experienced, let's say, oversaw part of the Russian speakers. So there's the head of the department, his name is Bis, that is in charge of the Russian department, and he can probably help you with such topics as we have a very diversified stand. We have first type, second type, third type, fourth type, and it doesn't bother us to be one. We don't judge one another, we accept one another. That's why our 10 is truly our pride. It's a 10 where we don't judge everyone, we accept everyone. Thank you. More friends. Yes, to continue, Sasha, maybe you can share how we can share the best way, the examples. How can you share the best possible way? How to share with the examples. Personal, how to set a personal example. Set a personal example, simply set it. You do it, guys. Look, it's tough for everyone, it's a challenge. Nobody's nature is about getting up at 2 a.m. I hear about friends who get up weird hours that travel to different places. There are many examples here. Look, the friends who came to Israel in spite of all the difficulties and the wars and the struggles, men, women, there's no shortage of personal examples. Just open your eyes and look around you. So all that's left for us is the attitude to be impressed by each and every friend. There isn't one, only one that you can be impressed by. We spoke about getting married. Look, get up, get up, get up. Don't be shy. You no, take a microphone. Come here, young man decided to start a family and get married with a girl from the path. How old are you? 26. What's so bad about life? Why did you decide to get married? Why? What bad for him? He had it good and he wants to have it even better. I also wanted to get married. It's something I wanted, and I also want to have children. I want to have a family, and I won't say there's always thoughts against. Yes, there were all the doubts, worries, concerns. You always have to look at the hope, at the good side of how altogether, how the people of Israel would survive. The Creator always opens for us some opening, gives us a straight path that sits. So may the friends have a straight path. That's the way, like Rob said in the lesson with the system of nature. That thank you. If you're looking for examples here, I've examples before your eyes, my dear group, which I really love and I care for. Always so have to talk about effort, superior efforts. So before you want to erect a family, whether only hormones, I'm impressed by the guy and he's impressed by me. It's enough for a few years, that last a few years. You don't know who I'm going to be get married with. I didn't learn his nature. I don't know what he's going to think, or he's going to look in the refrigerator and say there's nothing to eat, even though he's full, because he doesn't see like me. So it could be that before we build the family, we will all think we need to at least know the real nature of the man a little, and that it's completely opposite and contradicted to a woman's nature, so that the hormonal impression that I feel in the first initial stages won't be so important. What will be important to me is to connect the family such that it will be able to achieve the harmony of him loving me not for my beauty and so on. I'm not talking about myself, but in general, but because without me and I without him won't be able to find a place. We won't have a screen. Who will I work with? What will I work with? And he won't have who to pass this along. That's what she receives in lessons, and that's what connects us, and that is what I appreciate in him. So that's what we talk about a lot in the 10. Thank you very much. Please, it's no secret. No, we're talking about corporal question are not spiritual, and I have request friends who have 30-year experience, 30-year worth of experience. You're the only ones who gave this to. You're the way you advanced in a group, so maybe they have meetings, maybe not now, but organize it, but pass to us everything we passed to you, all these subtleties, the decisions, how you started paying how you entered this family life, how did you incorporate it into working the T. What was the scrutiny before to T if it's possible to share such knowledge, maybe several meetings, like that you didn't need a lot of meetings. It's pretty short back in those times. The times were much more prolonged. Things would happen in a shorter manner, but yes, it could be that we need to do such meetings.